Hi, this is Jeff Allen. This is the virtual conference of 2014 for ProZ.com, and this specific session is about getting started with MT for freelancers. In this specific session, I'm not going to give a whole background of my entire background. You can go look at my profile about that. I've worked in a number of different machine translation, computer-generated translation companies, both enterprise level and freelancer level, have done a lot of implementations. And this specific hour is made to show you as freelancers how you can get started, how you can set it up, get going quickly with a commercial MT system. And it's independent, agnostic of the tool. It's a method that works in different tools. So hopefully this will help you get going. All right, well, good. The goal of this session here is specifically to show you how to use machine translation in different commercial software packages that are available by several vendors. And I want to show you a specific method that I have put together quite a few years ago, and I'm going to show you a project in which I did. And I want to show you the method first of how to prepare the project, how to create the dictionaries, how to prepare the work, and then translate use the translation of that, and then that will allow you to go ahead and create better dictionaries and do a feedback channel, which is quite fast. So first, what I want to show you here is this is the project report, or a specific article I wrote about this back in 2006, based on a project in 2005. And all I want you to realize here, I'm going to scroll down, and it's not the content, all this content. What I want to hear is I want to explain the context in which I did this project, just for a few minutes. So what I did is, for a number of years, many people have criticized me back in 2002, 2003, 2004, that I couldn't give away the content in which I was doing these projects, in which I was saying I was being so very successful. So what I did was I negotiated with Multilingual magazine, because they have multilingual news archives. I negotiated with them to be able to use their texts to be able to republish that content, the source and the translation, which I was doing for this project, and then be able to demonstrate this in such sessions. Okay? So what I did, I don't want to go through all the details of this, but I went through and pre-selected a number of these texts. There were several years of text, and I went down and selected just a few dates in 2004 of 3 different publication dates. And these are press releases, and we're going to see some examples of these, which ended up being about 75 different press release paragraphs and dates and information about the company. And then what I did is there were reasons for specific those dates, because it was available in HTML, it was easy to process, there was relevancy, the texts were recurrent from the same companies during that same time, so we're going to see some reuse of the content for machine translate purposes. Now, constraints of the project, very important. This was back in 2005. I had a pocket PC, I had a laptop, and I had a desktop computer in 3 different locations. So I was doing this project in the subway, in the tube. I was doing it in a laptop in a train. I was doing a laptop in a hotel. I was doing it at home and doing it in my backyard. So it was done in different contexts and at the office as well. So I was able to do different contexts. So I had to be able to move the files, the Excel sheets and the Word documents across these different platforms. So I was using Pocket PC, on the Pocket Word and Pocket Excel. I was using also a different I was using also some Excel on one little computer, and I didn't have Excel, so I was using another clone of Excel at that time. And I was traveling a lot, so I was having to do this specifically on the train. So I had lots of small, short trips where I could work on things for 10 to 15 minutes in the subway, in the train, and in different contexts. Okay? So those are the things: pocket PC, laptop computer, and we can see here, I had using XP at the time. And then I was using prompt 6.5. Now, I'm going to show this in version 10 right now in a few minutes. And I was using different Excel sheet, spreadsheet editor at that time. Now, I want to specifically show here the amount of time that this cost me. So what I'm going to do, this method that I'm showing you, can be drilled down into, I did 32 separate individual sessions which had a different duration, and we're going to see that in a second. And the total time of doing all text analysis, the dictionary creation, the dictionary identification and coding, or what we call creation of the dictionaries, the testing of the dictionaries on the translations, and verifying that this was going to be accurate, a good enough translation to show this, demonstrate this. It took me 1,145 minutes, which is 19.1 hours total time of this entire project. Now, I want to see, and I'm going to show you the content, amount of content in a minute. So if I go down here and I'm going to zoom in specifically on this, this project right here, I'm going to zoom it up. I'm going to bring it up a little bit larger. And I want you to see that I have documented for this purpose every one of my the trips. So on the 15th of March 2005, I spent 10 minutes in the subway at that time on a pocket PC, and this is what I was doing. Analyzing text, analyzing entries. And I'm going to show you how I did that. And then all these trips, everything is documented to be able to prove that I'm not bluffing. Okay? And then I came to a point a few weeks later where I was in the train on the pocket PC. I was formatting Excel sheets and using the translation. Then I went to the laptop, and then I started doing the dictionary code entries, and I said how many entries I did per session, exactly here, where I was, and everything, and the date. And then we came down to, and I did a number of updated dictionaries, and I was able to say that what version of the dictionary I was creating, okay, my own dictionary. The total time is 1,145 minutes and 19.1 hours. Okay, so I hope that shows that I'm not bluffing. Now, the next thing is, here is a screenshot, or basically a line of what I did of all of the files that I created. We can see all the versions, the dates, and everything, and what I was using. Okay, and we can see the specific files I had created at the end of the prompt one, and I created a number of different dictionaries. Now, the biggest thing here is I want to show that in that amount of time, I was able to create not 1,100 potential entries, because this is what usually happens when someone creates an dictionary. They create too many entries. They over-engineer the dictionaries. What I want to show is it's possible to create limited-sized dictionaries that create just as much, the translation will be the same, but less entries. So rather than 1,100, I created 330 entries that needed a translation, needed to be put into the dictionary, creating the dictionary. And secondly, I created 240 non-translatable preserved words, which is they do not translate words, okay, or terms. So that meant that rather than 1,100 manually identified potential dictionary entries, I created 570 total. And that meant that I was able to be very optimal and only use 50% approximately of what I need to do. Sorry for this color scheme, but it keeps coming up, my resolution screen, but I'll click that here. So now the number of words that I did, I selected the very beginning, and I'll show you the files here in a minute, that I selected a sample, a large set of all these texts of 55,000 words, and that corresponds pretty closely to what a freelance translator would do on a fairly large project. Well, fairly large. It can be much larger, and they're usually smaller, okay? But I want to show something that's real. And then what I did is I selected a smaller sample of 8,300 of that larger one. Now, these are press releases, so they're going to be the same companies doing new press releases over a couple months. Just their new products or the new people that they're announcing to come to the company. So we're going to see some reuse of the terms that are coming back. And then what I did is I spent that 19.1 hours time to be able to do it so that I could do it on the 8,300 words, and then that could also apply to the 55,000. So I was trying to do this in a very testable way and reproducible way. And then this was on the 75,000 words here. Okay. Now, so that's the main point I want to show in this. Now I want to come here. I've got everything here in these dictionaries here, and I want to come to the text. So what I've done here is I've opened up here. I'm going to open this up so you can see this and make it a little bit larger. Okay, so you can see that because it'll be zooming in here. So this is an example of the multilingual news texts that I was using, and there are just a lot of small press releases. Here are all the table of contents, and then here's an example of the press releases here. That's one example. It has a text, a couple of paragraphs, the name of the company, the street, where the location, the telephone number, fax, email, web. And it's ongoing of these kinds of things. Marketing texts are usually types of content that people say is not possible to do machine translation with. I'm going to prove that that is incorrect and inaccurate. So here we've got a number of different types. We see the names: SDL, CMOS, Trados. This is back when Trados was not SDL yet. And we just see all these names of these companies, and there's press releases. Okay? So this, I hope, will show that this is a very valid type of difficult translation that should not be used for MT, according to some people, and it can be done. All right. Now, what I did was I have created translations of it. I've run it through the translation system, and we're going to see that a raw translation, when it lines up, you can see that happening there. Okay. And this is an example of what we're going to do. So now what I want to do, and then I've created a number of entries and everything. So what I'm going to do is go into, that's the text. I want to show you an example of how I process the content myself to create a dictionary first, very quickly. This is a method. And then how I can use that within a commercial MT system. And then from that, go ahead and work with the text. All right. So what I did very specifically was when I had all the text, I wanted to show that I can do all this manually. The goal is to show that I can do things manually first, and then you can reproduce it within a system. Okay. So any type of system or tool that I can use afterwards is an acceleration step. But I want to show that it's possible to do this manually, completely everything manually. So this can be for you don't have to be a geek at all. You can just use Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. I've got Excel here I'm going to show, all right? And just with those two tools, these applications, you can do the majority of the work of preparation work for using a machine translation system, and I've got one here is for ProMT. So I want to show how I do this first in preparing the dictionary files, or glossaries if you want. And then those glossaries will become dictionaries. So I'm going to go ahead and open up, open up one of the other files. I'm going to create up here, and I'm going to just open up one of the original ones here. I'm going to take the English source text I had here. I'm going to open up one. I'm going to go ahead and modify that here in a second. And what I'm going to do is show you how I did this. So one approach that I did, I'm going to show you how to do it manually, and I'm going to show how you can do it with the tool as well. So what I did very simply was I identified on a pocket PC, I was in the subway, in the tube, I had time on my hands to do this very quickly, and I had a Word, okay, and a stylet, or I had a laptop or something. So what I did is I just simply went and I deleted things. I kept what I wanted. So I know that this is not going to be a problem. This is going to translate okay. Multilingual news, that should be okay. And I just started creating things. So what I'm going to do is multilingual computing. That sounds like something that probably won't compute that well. And language industry might be a term that might be very specific. Okay? Then multilingual computing and technology. That sounds like something that I want to. Research editor. That might be a specific type of term that it might not catch. And I'm going to keep that here. And I'm going to go to multilingual technology. That's going to be a term that it probably won't recognize. Press release, that sounds like something very specific. Submission's a pretty basic word. Send email. Now, here that could be kept here. Faxes, okay, that should recognize that word. This looks like a specific term, so I want to keep that, okay? That looks like. And North First Avenue, yeah, that could be a problem. Okay, Sandpoint, ID, id. Idaho, but that might be a problem, so I want to put that in dictionary, okay? So I'm just looking for potential problems because ID could be identification rather than Idaho. So I want to go ahead and use that. Then I want to use archive use. That archive, that's okay. Archived issues, that should not be a problem. Newsletter, let's just in case. It's probably in there in the dictionary, in the basic dictionary. And I'm going to go down, and I'm just going down quickly and finding. Now, I know that I'm going to repeat here. This is just table of contents. So I'm going to repeat things here. I just want to go down and quickly. So I want to show you what I'm doing here. And I'm going to go down into the text. Okay, I'm going to go farther down. I'm going to delete all this and come down to some of the other examples here. So come down to the other one here. LAS, definitely that's going to be a problem. Okay, now a cross-script name search tool. That sounds very specific. So I want to keep that here. Language analysis systems. Well, I've already put LAS, so I should be okay. So let's take that out here. And now to be releasing the LAS. Now LAS we already got, so we need that. But now the name transliterator. Okay, it's name. Now we want to name search system. Sounds like a very specific term. Okay, multiple writing scripts. Now multiple is okay. It's just an adjective. But how about writing script? It might not be in a regular dictionary. The name translator we already got it. Allows a non-native speaker. Non-native speaker. We want. It could be a potential problem. Okay, this is how I identify things quickly as a quick list. I'm going through, and you can see how I'm doing this. Okay, so what I did is I create a full list of all these, just deleting and then doing that. All right. Then what I do is I'm going to pull up an example of what I did. I made a number of versions of these going through on the tube and the train and home, and then I created a full list. And you can see here that I've got a very long list of potential terms that I've actually translated. And this was my full list that I did of translatable terms. And the translatable terms ended up being 327. Okay. Now what I did is I translated them quickly just to show, to prove a concept. I wasn't trying to translate perfectly. I was just trying to prove the proof of concept of how this works. That it would change the translation to what I wanted the translation to be. So I'm not looking for specific perfection. I'm just trying to show that it works. Okay. Now the other thing I want to show here is when another mistake that happens when people make machine translation dictionaries is that they only put in the term that they found in the text. Now, I think that's a mistake. That's an error because you never know if the spelling is going to always be consistent. We all know that garbage in, garbage out comes out. And what happens then is that you will go ahead and have, anytime you have the next type of variant of the spelling or the variant of the expression, sorry about this here, it will then not translate because it won't recognize it. So what I do is when I'm going through the text, I recognize that I might write into a version like co-write, co-author, 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 co-write, co-write. I give all the spelling variants all having the same translation. And spelling and words, because co-author and co-writer are this, to co-author to co-write is really the same thing. Okay. And then I have other types of editing: bleeding edge, cutting edge, leading edge, and I give all different types of examples. Okay, oops, sorry to know that. Of the same idea. It's the same concept, and they already mean the same thing. Okay, and then I can have other terms like call for papers, seminar. We have the word supranationally, and I had that two different spellings in here. And we have, and when I found one that said non-German, I put non-English, non-French, non-Spanish. I just create more entries because I happen to be there. It's better to extend my dictionary when I'm at a term when I'm creating a term, it's better to extend that dictionary immediately based on my knowledge of the field. I understand that I am an expert of the field of that text, and I know the comprehensive and exhaustive nature in a general way of all the types of text that I would normally translate with that. So what I'm going to do is use the opportunity when I am creating when I'm working on a dictionary or this glossary dictionary, I'm going to try to extend it immediately as far as possible with all the possible variants or a few possible variants at the same time I'm creating the dictionary entry. It costs me less time because I'm there at the moment. If I have to come back later and do bug fixes, that is add terms in, that's more costly because I'm coming back later. So it's better to do it when I'm doing it at the creation level. Okay? Now let's do some examples of this. So I've got examples of what I did create here. And you can see that I've got all these types of examples of my spelling normalization with the S's and the Z's. You can see that I did that regular with localization. I even put L10N, different spelling types. I just created all of it. Now remember, this didn't take that much time because I showed you that I did in these small 10 and 15 minute segments of time doing it in my pocket PC or whatever. I'm just being a project and program. I'm giving all these different types of words that I think that might be problematic. And all these came directly from my text, okay? Second thing that I do, and I'm going to pull this up as well, and we're going to see this in a minute here, is I generated I also generated that the word, like the Word document, I was cutting up the words and stuff. I generated here, and I'm going to show you an example of the preserved words. Now, preserved words in the ProMT system means basically non-translatable words. So I created a full list of all the terms that would be non-translatable. The non-translatable words or terms are just as important, if not more important, than translatable words or terms. The reason for that is because they might come up with other translations, like alchemy might be translated differently than we want it to be. It might translate like the word apple. The word apple will definitely translate into something I don't want it to translate into in a different language. Okay, and we can see all these company names and trademarks, registered names. These are the things that I want to do as non-translatable terms. Okay. So I had 270 of those off the top of my head, and I kept those in a separate file, okay? And then what I did here, if I go into my, I think I have another, that was the to translate one here, okay? That's my version 15. I think I had in one of the other versions here to translate here, I kept one of them. I had one where I had the, wasn't that one, oops, sorry about that. It's one of the other ones here. Maybe when I had it here, what I did is I separated. I kept them separate. So what I did is I think in version 12 you'll see that I had to translate, and I was keeping separate. I was saying that this needs to be a to translate one, and then I created separate tabs. So do not translate. Here's the one I said do not translate, and I just indicated what I wanted to be. So what I did is I planned all this. It didn't take that much time. 270 terms and 330 terms is not that much time, especially when you're identifying them very quickly in the way that I showed you manually. Now, let's go in and see how to do this in the tool if the tool allows us to do it. So it's possible to go in the tool. What I've done here is I can go ahead and launch. What I go here is if I take this this program here, I'm going to go back out because I think I've got 3 versions, so I had to open it twice. If I go ahead and revert back, okay, I'm going to revert back here because I don't need this here. I want to show that how I want to find the. I'm just giving that was an example. Now I've got here. You can see that the ProMT translators actually they've got plugins into Word and Excel and PowerPoint. So I can actually access the system through the toolbar, or I can actually access it separately. Okay, they're both possible. So what I can do is here, if I see that that I've got potential words. If I run this and translate it, okay, and I'm gonna. So what I did is I've already clicked on the translate button. I translated it, and what it is, it created a separate document here that's all lined up, and you can. They're all scrolls together. As you can see that they're lined up. I can go ahead and say what were the unknown words. I click on this button. What were the unknown words that it didn't know in the system that were the basic dictionary that comes with it? What are the unknown words that are there? And that gives me a list of all these words. And this is the same type of list I showed you a couple of minutes ago that I did manually. Fairly simple. And it even gives me the frequency that, so I know that the word transline, I should probably put that in the dictionary because it's going to come 6 times. And I don't want to be, if it gave a translation, I don't want to have to deal with it 6 times. 6 times is, if it happens 1 time, no big deal. But 6 times is a lot. So you have to just think the basic, always do it up front, do things upstream when you can, because it costs less work later to change it. However, you need to keep a general balance of that. You don't want to spend too much time coding or creating a lot of dictionary entries that are not very frequent or not very, I don't want to say frequent, whoops, oh, I hit the wrong, I should have clicked on that one. I hope that didn't change my screen resolution too much here. I wanted to avoid that. What it needs to be is that I want to spend the least amount of effort working on not very common words, and I'll just change those when I cross that bridge at a specific time. However, if I know that terms are common, I do want to change them. I want to put them in the dictionary fairly quickly because I know that I'll run across them not only in my small text here of 8,000 words, but also in the larger text of 55,000 words. Okay. So I want to be able to, and we can see that XML came up several times, and XML X left now. But you want to put that, and you can see there are several that come up several times. Okay. So I can go ahead and in here, I can, it's possible for to save this list out, and that's what my PDF was that I showed you a couple minutes ago. The PDF was actually that. It's possibly me for right at this, I can reserve this. What reserve here, reserve this means that I want to put this into a non-translatable, I don't want to translate, do not translate list. Okay, it's possible to do that, and I could reserve this, say I want to translate it, and I want it to give a semantic class. This is a geographical place, or this is a company name, you know, something like institution name like Microsoft. That's what it is. And I don't want to have I don't need these. I just want to have that around it. Okay, so I can put that in the dictionary and do that. I'm not going to click on it. I want to fill up my dictionary right here with this. And I can go ahead and create this right from the list that's been extracted from my content that I worked on. I'm here on the translation side, but it came from the original source. This is one way to do this. And then I can create a dictionary entry, and I want to show you in a minute how I create dictionary items on specific words, and I want to show you an example of that. Another way to do this specifically, and I want to use this on another example here in my Excel sheet, is that I had Excel sheet here, and I had this open, all right, to translate here. I could even do this in my do not translate list. I could actually create my do not translate list, and I could say that I want to reserve this word globalist. I want to preserve that word. I'm sorry, up. I want to put that, I want to get that up here. I want to reserve that word. I'm going to copy it in here. And I want to give this is going to be a institution name. And so I'm just going to be going through and just clicking, saving this, quickly, just doing that. I'm creating my list quite quickly from already printed text, or I don't have to type it in. I'm trying to use copy and paste and select as much as possible to be very fast. Okay. Next. Another way to do this, an interesting way to do it, is I could just take I could take a full list of terms here. Let me take the to translate list. I could take all these and I could actually just copy and put them, and I can do them into a Word document and translate it, or I could even here and say, I could even use the same concept here, and I could translate this text, and then it would create a second document, and I can click on that and say, show me all the unknown words. And then I could add them in one by one. So there are different ways to do it in the system, all very similarly, and this allows you to go ahead and do it quite quickly. And then what I could do here, and I created another file, because the problem, I see that we cannot import an Excel sheet directly, and I thought we could, and I don't see that I can do that. Maybe it's possible. What I've done is I created a separate text file here that's the exact same text file inside. And what I can do is I can select this in one. I can say I want to add this to my dictionary, and I'm going to show you how I add this to my dictionary as a verb. I can add to my dictionary as a verb very simply by copying and pasting here, okay, and it's co-write. I want to put the stem, I want to put the basic word in, it's co-write. Not co-writing, not co-writed, or it's co-write, all right? And I want to put it into, well, right now, here's my dictionary. I'm going to put it for my dictionary. I'd create a specific dictionary for this project. Here I'm going to show you in simple mode, and I'm going to show you in advanced mode. I want to show you both of these. So what I do is I create co-write, and we can say I've already done it, okay, so that's good. And I put it as a verb. I've already added that in, okay. And what I want to show is I want to do a second one, and the second one I want is a co-author. So I want to create co-author. I can actually do it right here and type it in, because I had already created co-write a couple minutes ago in a test. And then the translation, let me go ahead and delete this and let's do that over again, okay, because I did it here. So I want to create co-author right now is my second one, all right. Co-author is the one I want to do. As the second variant or second example of that, I want to now add that to my dictionary, and you can see that I've got co-write already, and I can go co-author now, so I can use the word co again. I'm going to show you this in a second, how I can reuse these things. I want to put this in simple mode for now, and simple mode is co-write, and I can put my translation, I can type it in directly here, or the fact that I had kept a text file off to the side, I want to just copy this, and I can put that in, like that here, copy and paste, and I can put a comment I want, and I can add that and save it, okay? So these are examples of what I can do. Now I want to show you an example of advanced, and this is the power of these types of systems where you can go even further. So let's say that now I want to do co-author I want to have with a hyphen, and now I don't really have to keep all of the, if I've got things in the buffer of the system, it allows me to go ahead and move further by using the buffer in the system of my last or my recently used words, both in the source and the translation. So if I add to my dictionary another one, I can see that I've already got these. So rather than copy and paste or type, I can choose co-author, and I can just add the hyphen right now, right where I'm at. So I'm doing exactly what's over here, but I'm just adding in it because of my buffer that I've got that in my buffer the last recently entries. If I want to do this in advanced mode, okay, I want to go to advanced mode now. I want to add this in the dictionary, and I want to recognize that this is a verb, and I want to go ahead and click on that, and now it's going to say that the author is the verb, okay, and I want to conjugate that verb, and I want to say, it gives me examples of the types of conjugations that you can have here, okay, and the different types of variables. And I want to co-author and co-authored. So that's pretty standard, so I'm going to accept that one. And then he co-authors, present indefinite, third person singular, he co-authors or she co-authors, so that's the exact one. And it gives you different examples. So you just look for the one that's there, and you get pretty good at using this. And co-authored, okay? That's fine. And the rest of it's unchanged. We don't want any of this to change, okay? These are unchangeable things. and invariable aspects. And I want to put that in. And then I can say, here, it's quite powerful. I don't want to go through all the details of this, but I can say that you can say this is inanimate. I can give some semantic categorizations, etc. But here I want to just add one or more translations in. So I can add into here. Now, because I've just been in the system, I might even have it in my buffer. I don't have it in this buffer here. I was doing some tests. But I can take my translation here that I got, and I want to say corriger, and I want to put it here, type it in, and I want this to be my translation, okay? And it's going to go with the verb avoir, because il a corrigé, that's okay. And then it gives me examples in the translation as well, the target translation of different conjugations of that. And we can see that this corriger, yes, nous corrigeons, yes, that's okay. And then and I can actually create here a second translation. If I have different possible translations, I can even add a second translation. I could even add here, and because it's my buffer, I could even grab here. I can take the co, and I could say, there isn't really a second one for this one, but we could call codicte. I'm just going to give a fake one, okay? Dicte, okay? Codicte, okay? It's not quite the same meaning, but I'm just trying to give an example of how you can create secondary translations or alternative translations. And I would do the same thing, exactly the same thing. Go through the whole thing. It's the same type of example. I can choose the one I want. Yes, yes, da, da. And this one is going to be the primary translation that's going to appear in the text. And then this one can appear in parentheses afterwards when you translate. So this allows you to, and when you're going through, you can select the one you want when you're in the interface. So this is an example of how to very, very quickly going through and adding, like I said, I added approximately, I added 270 and 330 terms into this text to go ahead and demonstrate the capacity or the availability of the translation. And then I created a number of do not translate terms. These are all here, the translatable ones, and then it was able to apply to all the text. So let me go now to the example where the texts are actually the results of this, because this is really in the end, how does this override? How do these translations, these dictionary entries that created quickly, how do they override the translation of this raw, Google-ish translated text? Okay, how does it apply and how does it work, and what do we see? So let's come back out. I'm gonna come out of here, and I have here the source text. I have the raw empty French that I ran through, and then I created an example of the raw empty French with the dictionary applied. And I want to show you here what happened is when I had the translations here, the translation came up better, okay, if I've got with the dictionary applying here. And you can see that here. Now, you don't really see it very well here in this example because it's not highlighting all of this here because it's the final version. But what I like to do is come back to that original PDF document. I believe that you can see this actually in the original PDF. What I did is I put at the end here, I gave examples of how this was translated here. This was the final translated text here. And this was so this was all the English. I gave all the English at the beginning. And then I copied in at the end here. I'm going to go all the way down here. I gave the French and how it was changed based on my dictionary entries. So we can see that I wasn't giving nouvelle multilingue, but I said the nouvelle de multilingual. So I can see that I was changing my dictionaries, how they have created, and it's constant. It's going to translate it every single time. Now, again, I'm not searching for a perfect translation here. I'm just trying to show what the dictionary has impact and how I can have it repetitive across all my text. And this example is going to come across all the text because these are press releases all over. And you can see there's an example. I gave some examples of the alternative translations. We can have les rédacteurs confirmés. Okay, so these are expert, writers, or the rédacteur en chef. So I've given two different de recherche. So I've got two different translations that can appear, and I can choose the one. Now I'm not in the software right now, but I can choose the one. I can click on it when I'm in Word and select it and go on and move onward. So I can select the one in it. This is just a PDF that I created in this document afterwards to show the result. And you can see that, so ID, remember I told you ID was going to be a problem early on. I've forced it to remain as Idaho rather than ID being identification. Okay, so that's a good example. And you can see that I've got different, I wanted to have, even to subscribe and unsubscribe, I gave a specific, I locked that in and it came down pretty good translation. So what I've done is even, the discours to vocal, and rather than instead of instruments of translation, it's tools. Okay, so I've forced the translation to be what I want it to be. And this is an example of preparing here, la coopération with Microsoft, that's not what I meant. I just want Microsoft Société Anonyme in French, and that's the type of company it is. And then I can have corporation as a secondary translation. I can click on it and accept the one I want and move on in the tool. And you can see that I've got lots of examples. This is French. This is one example. Here, web. I don't want web to be web. I want it to be internet. But I have two different translations that could be acceptable here. And examples, lots of examples of what my small dictionary, CA, didn't come as CA, it came as California, for California. You can see how I've got to go down the fournisseur de solution de logiciel. I have forced it to recognize a provider of software services to be a better translation than what the original was. Okay, and this is again just customized dictionaries. And in this session, I want to talk about the types of rules and things. Go watch Dimitra's. She's going to give you. There's a separate session that explains the different types of MT software. And here's a rule-based one I'm using. So I'm using rules, lexical or glossary rules, combined with grammar rules to make all this work together. And we can see that there's a fairly good approach. And then what this allows me to do, if you think about this, is that if in all of my text that I've got here, and if we come back to that chart of the time that was spent, remember here, this time that was spent here, if I only spent a total of 19.1 hours on a text, identifying the entire cycle of the identification of terms, and this is all manual. Everything was manual. Okay, it was not done. I did nothing automatically here. I wanted to show how much time I do at the worst case scenario, and then of course I want to speed things up by using tools when I can. So what was possible here is to show that the worst case scenario is I'm going to spend 19.1 hours. But if I was using the term extractor, if I was using these different ways I've shown to use the embedded tool here, go in and actually use it within the text here, go and click on this and click on detect find the unknown words and then push them in and create the dictionaries. If I use that embedded within the system, it's going to give them faster than that 9.1 hours. But the 19.1 shows you that normally in a dictionary glossary type of projects I've worked on in the past, what I've charged to customers working for large LSPs that usually do a project 200 terms, and you're going to charge it for a certain amount of time per hour, okay, with the 200 terms. And if you look at 19.1 hours off of a text, or 8,300 words that are the same type of content as the same kind of content is the larger 55. This is the 8,300 words here. but it's the same type of content here as the large the one. This is the entire 55,000 words. If it's all this is the same type of content, and that we know that all this content is going to be these words are going to be coming back over and over and over and over again, these examples, that my dictionary entries are reapplicable throughout the text. So this is a very good return on investment of time for a small number of entries that are going to have a big bang for the buck, as we say in American English. So good ROI, good return on investment. So hopefully what I've done here is shown in one tool how I'm able to do that with that. And let me just do a quick overview of one here. I'm trying to show not all of the functionality that exists in this MT system. I'm trying to showing you highlights of what you can do with it and how you can use just the Word and just the Excel sheets and the Word, Excel, and Notepad, whatever, as basic tools to be able to use the tool. Now, you can go in the tool as well, and they're all plugins. You have all these plugins here that we saw. If you go to Prompt Translator, you got that here, and you've got a number of these different ones here to translate, and you can translate just selected text, or you can go into panes. You can check a current paragraph. You can click on this. I just want to translate the current paragraph and not another one. I don't want to go into all the functionality. This is not a demo of the system. This is to show how to take an approach or a method of dictionary creation combined with internal grammar rules that are in the system already and an existing dictionary, because it has an existing dictionary, as you'll see in Dimitra's talk, her presentation, that they have create basic dictionaries already. And then we're creating a custom dictionary on top of it. And you can have custom dictionaries that are domain specific. This would be, I would call this press release dictionary, general press release. And then if I was doing only press releases for SDL or only press releases for Sistran, I'd create a very specific, potentially a very specific custom dictionary for Sistran and another one for SDL or something that I would add on top of the general one called press release dictionaries. Okay, so let me show you this. Here in the tool, there are a few examples. I can have a dictionary manager, so we can hear that I've a dictionary manager. I'm just going to kind of launch this and show that I can I can create different dictionaries here and add them in. I can add to the list. I can add an English to French dictionary, and I can, and I have an example one here. I want to import that in. So I have a dictionary certification 9 that I added in. I can add that in, and I can create a bunch of dictionaries and add them, import them in. Okay, and I can bring all these in and say what their properties and everything are, and I can categorize them into groups: press release, marketing, pharmaceutical, automobile. I can group them together in groups, and then I can prioritize the dictionaries into how I want them to translate first. So if I want to have, if I'm working in electronics of automobile, I might want to add all my automobile dictionaries in and add all my IT dictionaries in, and I want to categorize them in the order in which I want the words to appear first, and that the order of priority from each of the dictionary groups. And I can't go and show all this. Again, this is not a demo of this system. It's just to show what is possible to do and how you can result in a text that does allow you to come out with the translation we saw here in the PDF here at the bottom here, that when I come out, that comes out with something like so, which overrides the translation. Okay. So there's that. There's another one here. You can have we have the dictionary editor, so I can actually go in and create the dictionary editor and go directly into it here and do my entries if I want to here. English to French here. Where's my English French? I can create my dictionary entries here. Create new dictionaries in each of these if I want to, etc. Or I can go back through those you said here, I can go through my dictionary editor here. So I can do it through the plugin as well. Here, it's possible, now there is a prompt for TM, for translation memory, so there's a TM thing, and I don't want to go into all the different features here. That could be a whole nother session of how to do that, but it's possible actually, yes, to use a mixture of translation memories, existing translation memories that you've created, and you attach them within the software program, as another type of, like a dictionary. It's just another resource. Call them a resource. So you've got dictionary resources that we've seen here, and we have translation memory resources. And you put them in an order of priority to be able for it to grab the translation memory text first, and then process afterwards the rest of the text with the dictionaries. Okay, in the priority or order of priority that you said with your categorizing. It's also probably too here to have a dictionary installer. ProMT they have specialized dictionaries that they sell. I've got some here, but I don't want to go through and show you everything here. And you can go ahead and buy those as general specialized dictionaries for specific IT domains, and you can do them for certain languages. And you can buy them and you can install them here and do that. And you can do the batch translator. You can batch text here up. So you can put up a translation queue and actually put a number of different documents in an order, apply the dictionaries that you want and the TMs you want, and then go ahead and translate them in batch. It'll put them into another folder with the endings that you want and have it, so you know that they're different, the translated files differently, etc. Okay? So hopefully this shows you, I'm trying to show here, how it is possible to be effective, to be quick, to be efficient, and to be intelligent in using, this is the one example of a machine translation system, to be able to do to use translation as machine translation is a tool. It's one possible tool of many different tools in a workflow of just getting the translation service done, okay, doing the work. And this is one example that you can do, okay? So hopefully that is sufficient for you to be able to see that, and we'll be answering a number of questions afterwards. I just want to go through and give you the basics here to show that how you can take it a very positive way and use your own existing glossary and approach and translation here to be able to use them as another tool. Thanks. So thanks for attending this session. We've given a specific example of one MT tool that can be used in a specific workflow. There are different variants or flavors of how you can do that. And it's also possible to use the same method with other types of computer-generated translation, automated translation tools, such as Systran or any other types of ones. So that could become a new series of how to use this in other types of tools. Look forward to your questions. Go ahead and continue to ask them here on this page for all the questions and answers. And I'll be around for quite a bit of time today to be able to answer your questions on the chat line. Thanks so much.